Okie dokie. Ooh, that was new. I
Okay.
didn't know this thing
Uh,
spoke.
yeah, they do. Oh, you haven't been on it for a while then. All right. Hello. Hello, everyone. So, welcome today to Craft Talks and Conversations. And I'm here with my friend Joseph Kakawinokanasum. And Joseph, it's so great to have you on here. I really appreciate, I know you've got a busy week, so I really appreciate you being here and being live and possibly answering questions. We're gonna just, well, I've got to do my very high tech thing and look on my phone to make sure we got people here. But while we do, would you be willing to let people know who you are and
Okay.
what
I had considered just reading the bio that you wrote, but because it was really wonderful and succinct. But okay, so I'm going to just go around it the long way. My name is Joseph Kakawinokanasum. I'm a Cree Austrian writer. That's what it says on my birth certificate. I don't know.
that you're a writer? It says you're a writer on your birth certificate. Oops.
Digress, which is what I normally do. So I'm from the James Smith Cree Reservation, writer, storyteller. Been doing it for some time now. Seriously, since 2009. But as a catharsis, I've been doing it for over 20 years. So, and that whole process has just kind of led me to this point here, where I'm having a wonderful chat with an amazing cup of coffee with my incredible friend Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Okay.
part of being here, or well, part of your busy week is the fact that your novel, My Indian Summer, is just released, and that's really exciting.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, so I'm just going to
Yeah.
congratulate you publicly here for that launch.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I'd love for us to start with that catharsis because I think that's really, an important part of the journey. People start from in all sorts of places. Some people start with the intention of writing a novel and then maybe realize how difficult it is. But can you tell us like how you came to writing and what it did for you in terms of catharsis? Like yeah, how you approached it.
I approached it like it was medicine that I needed to take.
Mhm.
It was medicine that I didn't want to take.
Okay.
I was a terrible writer. Terrible speller, terrible at everything that had to do anything to do with writing. Even though I knew I wanted to be a writer, it was just, you know, um, but it was medicine for my brain just to sort of think out loud. That's what the catharsis was all about, really. It was me writing out my thoughts, thinking out loud, and getting all my anger out, writing it out on a page, talking about all the crap that happened to me, happened to my family, my brothers, my sisters, my mother, all that stuff. um and then processing it. It was my psychiatrist who actually suggested writing as a catharsis. um, and he knew that I wanted to write because, I mean, we'd been talking about it. What do you want to do? I didn't want to be a bicycle courier my entire life, so um, so yeah, and that's kind of how it started. And after a while, I just after I quit being a bicycle courier. I had a million little jobs. uh, I still journaled, and I still saw my therapist, and I still attended groups, and I read lots of books, and I started doing all of the things that that were kind of planting seeds.
Hmm.
And in that catharsis, that's exactly what was happening. It was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And every career that I ever had in my life, from bicycle courier to a filing agent at the Supreme Court of Canada, to a library, assistant at Surrey and Coquitlam Library. I knew that I was getting closer when I got the job at a library. I knew I was getting close to what I wanted to do. It was closer to books. That felt pretty good. But you know,
So
like they all sort of taught me something, right? It's like, I
yeah.
mean, about myself, and so I'm sitting here journaling and writing about all of the shitty jobs that I've had. I hate this fucking job. I hate la 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 la. Pardon my French, but I you know, and when I, you know, it's like, okay, so what are you going to do about it, Joe? You know, I'm sitting there writing it out, and that's exactly how I write it out. Okay, so Joe, what are we doing today? You know, how are you going to get your, you know, your work done? What do we got to do to get this done? What do we got to do to get that done? And you work it out. I worked it out. I worked it out in my head, and in my journals. My journals became more like, you know, worksheets and business plans and
Mm,
and you know, like, I mean, it seriously went from like uh, you know some seriously dark stuff, like, you know, like suicidal thoughts, dealing with that kind of stuff. You know, in the very beginning, it was really 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 dark journaling, but
hmm
now
hmm
it's journaling about, now how the hell am I going to do this when I got to do this and I got to do this and I got to do this. Now I got all this crap to do. It's all on my plate, and all I want to do is just fucking write. But
hmm
as writers, you know, I mean, you know as well as I do, we got to do, right. I mean, we got to go where the money is and where we can get some bills paid. And you know, so for me, it's, you know, it's Vancouver, it's Toronto,
Right.
it's
For you're talking about your tour now. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 but but
Yeah.
but it's all just a big old progression, right. I went from like needing to journal for
hmm
mental health, and I still do it for my mental health. It's still a really good practice, and it still
Yeah.
helps me process my day, and it helps me just sort of release and let go of all of the things that are perhaps maybe even just bothering me, right.
So I'm curious because I know for myself when I journal, like my journal is a very different animal than my notebook in terms of like there's there's processing going on in my journal. There's processing going on in my notebooks too, but it's a different kind of processing. So I'm curious how you made that kind of leap from writing, processing, you know, emotions and trauma and all the things through the journal to beginning to weave story.
Mm. um when I'm journaling and I'm thinking, you know, especially like I have multiple journals, by the way. This one here is my personal journal. It's the one I throw in my thoughts. It's the one that's all beat up. It's, you know, it's really not that old. It's only about 3 months old, and I'm halfway through it. And I got little sticky notes and everything else like that on it. Thoughts that I'm, you know, working on, still processing. And then I have this journal here, which is the journal that I use for writing down my story thoughts, my story ideas.
Hmm
And I keep them separate because, I mean, I've learned from past experience that, you know, throwing it all into one journal is great, but I mean, when it comes time to thinking about, oh, what day was it that I thought this thing, this thought, you know, like, I mean, so I keep all my, you know, certain ideas separate. If I'm in my journal and I'm thinking, oh, you know, I got to write my next 30 pages, my editors, you know, asking for this and this and this and this and this, and this is what I'm working on. This is how it's going.
hmm
You know, I'll put a little note in my journal, you know, uh, and this particular journal I call Storm Cloud.
Oh, because
And
that's the
so
title of your next
that,
book.
that's the title of my next project. It's called
Hmm
Storm Cloud, where it's a working title. But and then I'll put it in here, and and then I can shift from one to the other, right. And then you know, it's easier for me in my mind. I mean, I'm not suggesting this for anybody else, but I mean, as far as my personal process is concerned, and this is how it's evolved, because it never
Yeah.
was like this before, right. I mean, it's more refined now that, and you know, like, I mean, you know as well as I do that when you finish a significant body of work, there's a significant amount of experience that comes with that.
Yes.
and and it's that building process that really, you know, is what it's the hard labor for me. It's the physical, on hands-on stuff that really gets my mind and my hand moving in the way that I need it to go.
Yeah, I like that you do by hand. I'm such a hand worker as well and have
Yeah.
many journals and notebooks. And so, like with the story, you started writing short stories, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
So did they come out of the journal, or when did you kind of like decide, okay, I'm gonna actually try my hand at stories, at
Yeah.
writing stories?
Uh, well, it was my psychiatrist again, who suggested, like some of the stories that you're telling me, like, I mean, because I mean, I told him a story about about a bicycle, like, I mean, and like when we were kids, we would go to the dump, get the bicycle, make it out of old parts, and you'd bring it home, and you'd be all proud and whatever, and then one day you'd get up in the morning and it'd be gone. Someone
Mm.
stole your bike. So my psychiatrist is like, yeah, okay, I totally get that. I know what you mean when you say you just bike stolen, is because he's had his bike stolen, and he
Oops, you're
wrote about
frozen.
that.
Sorry, you
Yeah.
froze there for a second.
Oh,
So
sorry.
he
Yeah.
said you got your bike stolen. Yes. So
Yeah.
then,
So there's this a commonality, right? And there's this something that, like, I mean, so here's a psychiatrist, and then here's this native kid, half-breed kid, completely different socioeconomic sort of scales and places of time and whatever, right? Because he's like 30 years older than me, but we all have this unique experience that is very, very similar. We've had our
mm,
bikes stolen, right? And what that feels like. And so we laughed about that, and that's kind of, so I wrote that in my journal. And he's like, you got to write that story out, and so I did.
nice.
And like, I mean, and that's kind of how it started. and
Yeah.
and and like, literally, like, years and years later, um I I found somebody in my life, and we're both artists, and we both have similar ideas about, well, creative ideas anyways, and and so, yeah, she said, why don't you write more of these stories? And so that's kind of how it started. It just
Mm.
started, and then I started working with her. I started working with my mother-in-law on all of these short stories that had been building and building and building over the last 15 years. And the one that I published now, this one here, is what started off as a 1,500-word story in a journal that I was writing about.
Oh.
It was all anger. It was like blah, 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 just long verbal diarrhea, and 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 now it's 70
No.
some odd 73,000 words, and a published manuscript. I mean, it's a completely different story now,
Yeah.
but I mean, but
But
the
that's how
journey,
it
right?
started. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly how it started.
So
Yeah. So
that's so amazing, like how do we recognize, I mean, I should take a little pro tip from you because my stories are all in the short realm. But how do you recognize a story that you're gonna like this 1,500 words that started out this way, the recognition that this is a longer story, this is a story that I'm actually going to commit to, because I think that's part of it too, right? As writers, we can journal and we can fill notebooks. I can fill a lot of notebooks, but then there comes a time where you like have to make a decision, I think, that this story is worth going the distance for.
yeah,
This story is worth committing to. This story is worth taking, you know,
yeah,
taking to the novel.
yeah, to the next steps, which is building it up as a novel. Um, for me, I worked on a whole bunch of short stories. I had 23 of them on the go. And when I took my course with TWS, there was a graduate's course that came right after with Aislinn Hunter. And she gave me some really good advice. She just said, you know what, Joseph, just polish 10 really, really good short stories. Just polish your 10 best stories and throw them out there into the world, you know, Hail Mary those babies to the universe, give them out, and then see what comes back. And so that's what I did. And so this is where my group comes into play. And then this is one of the things that I think that, you know, like, is highly understated. It's your writing community. It's
Yeah.
all the people that are just helping you get these things, like, oh, what do you think about these 1,500 words? What do you think about these, you know, 1,500, you know? So I give a lot of my writing out to my, you know, beta readers, and they read it and they come back and they say, oh yeah, okay, I really like this, but I didn't understand that, and you sort of drifted here, you lost me there, you know. It's wonderful, useful critique. And so then I think, okay, then blah, 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 start writing critique, take all that, you know, stuff in and apply it,
Hmm.
and then send them back out. Hey, I did those changes, what do you think of this? You know, I took your advice. That's what I tell them. And
Yeah.
when I engage my readers that way, it's like, hey, I did what you said. What do you think about these changes? And then, you know, take your time. Let me know. If you don't want to, you don't have to. No obligation. It's okay. Thank you so much for your time. Love you. You know,
Yeah, totally.
because I do love
Yeah,
my
yeah.
group, right? I mean, they encourage me. They're the reason why I'm here. You know,
So how did
so
you find them? Because I know, like, I just for people out there watching, I think it's critical to have good readers, and that you can't just like throw your stuff out. I mean, you can, but you're going to get a lot of feedback, and it's going to be a lot of, if you followed everybody's feedback, it would be probably not your story anymore. So, are you selective about your group, or how did you find them? How did they?
when I first started doing this, I was really not selective at all. I mean, I
Mhm.
would send it out to 50 people and then hope for something to come back, right? And well, you know, I'd get 2 or 3 replies.
Oh, okay.
Um, but now that I've got a group of friends and cohorts and people that I've met along the way in that writing journey, right? Like the Hollyhock, like the
Mhm.
Writers Trust, you know, the Rising Stars thing, the TWS, the TWS graduate class, all of these things, and have just sort of, you know, you know, people have come along with me along that ride, and you know, like, and they've and we still support each other to this day, right? So
Mhm.
it's building that community, it's networking. I think networking is really important. It's one of those things that, you know, like, I mean, writers nowadays, I mean, the old school writers don't like to do it that much because, you know, they never had to really do so much of it. But I mean, that whole idea of writers, you know, sitting in an office just writing and writing and writing and not doing anything else but writing is, it's,
Who are those writers?
who are those writers? Right, you know, like, yeah, for sure, right? I mean, you know, sometimes, you know, like, I mean, it's 2 3 gigs a day, and you know, where do you find the time to write, let alone journal,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so, you know, you're in airports, you're in hotels, you're doing all of that stuff. It's exciting, it's kind of cool, it's a novelty, but I mean, at the end of the day, you still got to get your 3,000 words, 5,000, for me, 5,000 words a week done.
yeah.
and
And
and this is when it, okay, this is the work.
the writing, the
It's,
actual writing, but also the community. I think what you're saying,
yeah,
and
yeah,
what I think is really beautiful and really important is that gathering of your people, like that you can't do it alone. You know, like I met you at Hollyhock, and now we're part of a network, and like here we are having this conversation, and I think that's how it grows, like that journey of community is supportive of the writing on so many levels, not just on the reading, but in so many ways.
yeah.
I don't know what my point is there, except
The community is extremely important to getting the job done, because I mean,
yeah,
there's the writing and then there's the rewriting, and writing is all just mostly 99% rewriting.
yes,
And if there's anything that this last project has taught me, it's that is that it's that, you know, I mean, even after the book launch and all the hubbub is all over, there's still work to do.
yes,
There's still a job to do. You still have to push that book. If you signed a contract and the contract says that, if your publisher is willing to pay to take you here, put you there, da 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 da, da, then and you say, yeah, okay, sure, let's do this, then you are obligated to go, even
So
if you don't feel like it.
let's talk about your book. You
Okay.
show it again, and we'll put a link to Joseph's book down. I'll put a link down in the comments there. Can you tell us about, like, give us a little synopsis of this book? And
Yeah, quick one. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you what some of the readers have said, because it has been read over, like, already, like,
yeah,
people
yeah.
have received it. Um, let's see here. Oh, hang on a second. It's as weird as it is. It's hard. It's also hard for me to hear this kind of stuff. But I mean, it's also just part of the job, learning how to sort of take these kind of, for me, it's hard. It's hard. It's difficult to process positive accolades. So pardon me if
If you
when I read
blush.
this. Yeah, if I blush. Yeah, if I turn a little red. Okay. Just finished reading your book. Blown away by the writing. Immersive, heart-stopping drama, gripping, high stakes, hilarious bits, deep sensitivity, compassion, richly detailed, evocative descriptions of people and place. Brilliant similes. I was with the protagonist the entire way.
So can
Um,
you tell us about the protagonist and tell us a little bit
protagonist
about the story?
Well, okay, so the story is based on an experience that I had as a child growing up in that small little town. We were very poor. Uh, there was 7 of us and 1 parent. It was We all struggled, and so I had found something that I could potentially sell for money, lots of money. In them days, it was the 70s, 79. And I did. So I did. And I got caught. And yeah, and it made a huge mess. But I mean, in the story, and this is interesting too, right? Because this will bring us back to the very almost 10 minutes ago when we were talking about how a short story becomes a larger piece is,
Hmm.
well, when I got out of TWS, I'd worked this story to a novella size. It went from a short story to a 5,000 word story to a 45,000 word story within about a year and a half. And
Okay.
and then it went out into the world, and then I just sent it out, and then I had a couple of friends, doing, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I mean, networking is so important, because I mean, there are
Hmm.
people out there who want to help you,
Yeah.
you know, and so
Yeah.
let them help you. you know they want you to succeed. If you want them to succeed and they want you to succeed, I see a pretty good relationship building here, right?
Totally.
And
Totally.
so then fucking do it. It's hard enough doing it by yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so
having that
so
support is huge. So your
yeah,
story, so it went out, novella.
novella, and then I got a call from Tidewater Press and said, okay, here's your here's your story. We love what you're doing. We love your writing. Blah 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 blah. Let's completely change it. Let's turn it into a nonfiction
Oh,
or fiction. Let's turn it into a fiction and add 40,000 words to it.
right. Right. So
And
it's
so that
kind
was the process. That's how it
and
happened.
and then so that's kind of interesting to me as a short story writer. Sounds to me a bit like, I mean, until it got to the publisher, like you had to trick yourself. Okay, I'm just gonna like expand it a little and then a little bit more. And then, then you completely changed it so it would fit the novel form. But
Absolutely right.
yeah, but what a good exercise for people watching out there if you're just starting, start with, you know, you could do that. You could start with a 1,500 word story, and then can you stretch it to 5,000 words, and then can you stretch it to 40,000 words, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
And stretching those stories, stretching those scenes, it's scene building. And this is where you have to take all of the tools that you learned as a writer, because we've all got our shed full of little tools, and there's metaphors, there's similes, there's all these little tools that we sharpen and refine as we go along our ways. And you use those tools to describe the world around you, to get inside your head. If it's a memoir, get inside that head, talk about it, spread it out there, go verbal diarrhea if you have to, because I mean, at the end of the day, there's going to be 5 or 6 little gems in that stuff, and you're going to keep
Hmm.
it, and you're going to love it.
Yeah,
That's the way it works. And
totally.
so, like, yeah, so like, if there's a chance or an opportunity for dialogue, then take it.
Yeah, yeah, there's all sorts of ways to, I mean, that's the thing. I think what happens with a lot of writers, this has happened to me for sure, maybe it's happened with you, is that you kind of commit something to the page, a story, and then you get attached to that's the way it is. And it doesn't, it doesn't take much actually to crack it open, to make a small
Mhm.
shift. You just use a different tool or change the point of view or whatever, and your story can grow. There's more space that you have a scene where there's that you've just told, and then you show it and it expands by 2 pages. So
Yeah, exactly.
there's lots of room. And also I think we have to get over our attachment to the things that show. I mean, people say, like, what is it? Let go of your darlings. Kill your
Yes, kill your
darlings.
babies. Kill
Not
your
just
babies.
let go of them. But
Yeah.
I don't know if I totally 100% always agree with it, but I think that we do get attached to, like, it came out this way, it's got to be this way.
I was talking to a friend of mine actually yesterday about this very thing, and the struggle in the editing process can be a bit of a tug of war between the editor and the writer, and they're as long as your editor and the writer are on the same page, then it's usually a fairly painless process. But it can change. Like, I mean, relationships like that, they're business relationship, right? And editors want to hone something down to the way that they feel that the environment will consume it in
Mm,
mass quantities. And the writer is like, well, that's really not that important to me. I mean, I don't need. I have a pension. I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm okay if this thing fails completely. But the publishers are not thinking like that. There's a
no.
bottom line. And so and so that relationship between the writer and the editor become a little bit strained, because they want to do this, you want to do that. And you're right, like my editor called it drowning kittens.
Oh.
And it's I have 2 cats, and she knows that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I mean, it's what has to be done. And this is one of the things that my first editor, Kilmeny Jane Denny, taught me, is what, there are um, there are places for everything, and you need to trust your editor.
Hmm.
That's the other thing, is like, you really need to trust your editor, because your editor has everything. Like, I mean, I'd say 99% of the time, I haven't met an editor who didn't take my voice into consideration.
Totally,
You know?
totally. Yeah.
And
I
so,
think too, oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. No.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, there's a lot of people watching too who may not have an editor. You don't have an editor as you first send off your drafts, or first stories. If you do send your stories to literary magazines, they're good editors there, but you do have to do a considerable amount of editing before you send it, before you get another editor. So that editor is also you.
Yeah.
Like, you are also that editor. So learning how to read with discernment and knowing when
Hmm.
stuff needs to go is also
Hmm.
important.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I had an experience where one editor was like, we need this to be a shorter story. This was for a literary mag.
Mm.
reduce it by this number of words, but do it on a sentence level. And I'd had enough distance from the story that I felt like, oh, I can do this. Like I could see it. I felt like cleaning out a closet, which
Yeah.
gives me great pleasure.
But yeah, it's like thinning out the hedges, right? Like digging up the blackberries, and because sometimes, like you said before, right? Some of this stuff gets entrenched,
Hmm.
and it becomes it's like, well, I couldn't see the forest through the trees at one point, and so my editor, this is her brilliant mind, the way, I don't know how she did it, but she helped me with that arc, and
Hmm.
and to just finish it, and to see the end, and
Yeah.
that's the hardest part for me, is to see that end, and to sort of tie things up nice and neatly.
Yeah.
So so uh so yeah, the editing process, the editors, and like you said too, right? Like, I mean, you are your own editor as well, and so sometimes, you have to sort of step back, and like you did with a short story, you give yourself some time from it, and not
Hmm.
just a week or two, put it back for a year. Like, I mean, work on something else. I mean, if you're building a short story collection, if there's writers out there like myself who are building a short story collection, I don't work on one short story all the time.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm switching that up. Like, I mean, if I'm thinking, no, it's not working for me, I'll go to a different short story. I'll go down my little list and say, okay, so what's resonating with me today? How am I feeling?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get into that writing, and yeah.
Yeah, it is it's one thing that I did not want to hear when I first started writing. I did not want to hear you should leave it, and the longer you leave it, the better you'll be able to see it. And I really resisted that,
Mhm.
but I really learned that it is true.
It's cooking. It's cooking with words, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, the longer you leave these little, soups of words, they turn into this amazing chili. You know.
I love that. I've never heard that analogy before,
um, you know,
Joe.
because I mean, because that's the way it works. I mean, and I know I'm an impatient person myself by nature. I'm really really impatient. I got my mother's temperament as well, which is I've been working on it for a long time, but
The
I have
temperament?
the temperament, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, it's like, I have to leave them, and it's I've learned that it's just part of the process. Like,
Hmm.
okay, so
Hmm.
here we go. Okay, yeah, throw it away. Not
Yeah,
throw it away, but like, leave it in my little list, in my little file on my computer, and if I have a thought about it, put it in my phone or write it down in my journal, and then leave it, and then come back to it. So
yeah.
I do have little itty bitty, thin, narrow, little thin notebooks that I have for my short stories. So they'll be on my shelf once my
Yeah.
shelf is all assembled and back, and because we're in the middle of moving. But yeah, it's just a bunch of these little short story books, and throw in an idea, okay, and then
Yeah.
throw in an idea, and then like I said, a year later, it's like, oh yeah, right, I remember that thought. Blah, blah, blah. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, and there's the story. Yeah.
And there's the story.
It
Well,
comes,
that's
yeah, it's so interesting. I had a story that I left alone, and then 2 years later, whatever, I'm walking in the forest, and there's her voice again. I was like, oh, you're back. Okay, there we go.
right. That's how it works, though, right? Like, I mean, it's the light comes on, call it an epiphany, like, I
Yeah.
mean, but that's I mean, and I know that there are writers out there that don't work like that. There are
Yeah.
formulaic writers who have, the outline set up, they know the beginning, the middle, the end. They
Yeah.
have all the characters mapped out, everybody is figured out. It just, it's color by numbers, and it's connect the dots,
Hmm.
which is great, because I mean, you can write 2 or 3 books sometimes a year doing that. There are people out there who do it. Romance novels do it, right?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and that's one hell of a lucrative business. Cheers to all the romance novelists out there. I wish I could write romance stories.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
where can people find your book, Joseph? And we'll put a link down, but It's out now. It's for sale. I know you're gonna love it. I'm gonna love it. I can't wait to read it. Um, so
You know what? You can pick it up almost anywhere. I know the bookstores out here in Victoria are carrying it. I know that my publisher has a whack of them, so Tidewater Press.
oh,
Uh,
Vish, just aside, there's Vish. She's watching us. Hi,
oh,
Vish.
is Vish watching? Hey,
Yeah.
Vish! Keep those pictures coming, yo.
And she says
Yeah.
she can't wait to read it. So,
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, but yeah, so Tidewater Press, Indigo Books, and you can order it from. I believe my brother told me there was 8 left on Amazon. That was a couple of days ago, and I know that many of my friends have just ordered it from their local bookstore as well. So
yes,
I
and
mean, if you
that's
have a chance to support your local bookstore, then please do, please do.
yes, that is always the
Yeah,
preferable. So
yeah,
for sure in Canada, that's where you can definitely that should be the first
yeah,
go-to.
yeah,
And
yeah.
probably in the States you can do it too. I know when my book came out, you could order it through your local bookstore. So
Yeah.
first option, local bookstore. Second option, bigger
Library.
lot, and also library. Don't forget
Yes,
to, even if you're
yes.
gonna,
You can request it information at your library in British Columbia. It's free. They really take this stuff seriously. Libraries are doing amazing work, amazing social programs in the libraries for ESL, for people are, you know, you know, like me,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So just nice quiet places to work. They got free internet. Come on, right? What's not to like about a library?
They got books.
They got books, all kinds of books.
Okay, everyone, thank you
Yeah,
so much for tuning in today. And thank you, Joe, for being here. It's just such a pleasure. And I'm wishing you so much luck and success with, well, even that you just wrote it as a big success. So for my Indian summer.
thank you. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for having me. It's
All
been a
right.
true honor. Thank you.
Thank you.